Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It is an excellent day to serve an excellent God in and with the spirit of excellence. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good midnight. Whatever your case may be, I pray that all is well with you on this 6th day of Lent. 6th day of Lent, as we are taking a 40-day journey to the cross. As you are coming in, I pray that you will say good morning. Let me know that you are here. We are on our regular schedule, as yesterday was a holiday for federal employees, so I came on a little late. So if you did not get an opportunity to see or hear yesterday's message, please do so, because they each day kind of fits into the other day. The other days kind of build up because we are headed somewhere. We are on a journey in this Lenten season that we are just not indulging in this for a project. So at the end of the 40 days, we can say that we did it. But we are trying to develop healthy spiritual practices, healthy ways of being, doing, and speaking. Good morning, Paula. So glad to see you this morning. Good morning, Joyce. Listen, why don't you go ahead and like, share, and tag with your click your circle or your crew, because here is the truth of the matter. We all are influencers. We all pastor somebody. So now if you share in your circle, and so perhaps people's first time coming into this space, although you may see me applying makeup, please, I implore you, do not follow this in anticipation of makeup tools, tips, or techniques, because that's not what we are doing around here. I'm just doing what I'm doing while I am doing what I'm doing. Joyce, I pray that everything is well with you with your doctor's appointment. Listen, today we are on Lent day 6, and we are fasting from speeding past sorrow. We are fasting from speeding past sorrow. Remember, I told you early on that this journey with Jesus is filled with grief. It is filled with sorrow, loss. It is filled with conflict. It is filled with rejection and abandonment. And so if we are going to be aligned with Jesus, and we say that Jesus felt all human emotions, then it makes sense that Jesus will feel, and that Jesus did feel grief. He did feel grief. Please let me know that this has not I'm not stuck, because on my end, it seems that I am freezing. Good morning, Pastor Mars, Dr. Mars. I'm so glad that you found me this morning on this 40 days to the cross. Please let me know if we have frozen, because it seems like on my end it did. But if not, we are going to keep going. Good morning, Fanta. So glad to see you this morning, Pastor. So today we are talking about, we are fasting from speeding past sorrow. In other words, we want to acknowledge the emotion, the real emotions of a loss of a person, place, or thing. So usually when we talk about loss or we talk about grief, we stop on the loss of a person. But loss and grief is triggered if we lose a job, right? Lose a pet, lose something that has been precious to us, because grief is the intense emotional response to a loss of independence. You can't do what you once did. That is a loss. You are grieving the loss of your way of being. A divorce is a loss, right? So oftentimes, as people of faith, as religious folk, we use the nice churchy platitudes because we think we have to. Because, I mean, a Christian is not supposed to be sad, is not supposed to grieve. We tell people, just get over it, right? That they're going to a better place. You can get another job. But let me tell you, that does not serve and support the person who's grieving. Or you had a miscarriage. Or you could get another. You'll get another one. Well, I may get another one, but that I lost is no longer there. So, and then we look at the story of Job, and we say that Job regained everything. Everything was, no. The ones who died, they were still dead. So Job did not get back what he lost. Job just got replacements. Now that's real talk. Good morning, Natasha. I want you to know that I have grown spiritually since last year when all of y'all were at Proctor and I wasn't there. I'm not jealous this year. I have grown, Natasha, and I really need you to tell the other folk that I'm not back home crying this year. Yes, Pastor Moss, what we tell people do not serve, and they may agree with you, and they may be okay for a while, but let me really tell you something. What happens when that person goes back home? Grief will come out one way or another. You will drink it out. You will be mean. You will just snap people at the drop of the dime. You will drink it out. You will smoke it out. You will eat it out. Yes. So Jesus shows for us, or models for us, what it means to grieve. So where is it that Jesus grieves? Jesus grieves when John the Baptist, remember who was in prison? The same John the Baptist who asked, are you the one? Or should we look for another? That one. He's in prison and John is beheaded. When Jesus hears the news, Jesus says, let us go to the other side. Now we know that part, right? But why did how did they get to that point? They got to the point because Jesus heard the news in Matthew 14 and 13. He hears the news that John has been murdered. He was beheaded. I'm not going to tell you all of that. Go ahead back and read that story. But he is beheaded, and it just seems like I am frozen. Please let me know if y'all are here, because it seems that I'm frozen on my end some kind of way, but I am continuing to record. Okay. So he says, let us go to the other side. Jesus wants to get away to go and deal with the loss of John. This is his cousin. This is the one that was in Mary's, in Elizabeth's womb when Jesus is in, thank you, Fanta. When Jesus is in Mary's womb, the one leaped, right? They've been connected for a long time. So when Jesus hears that John was murdered, Jesus tells his disciples, let us go to the other side. I need to get away. There are times, when we bombard people when there is a death and they are trying to get their bearings. They don't want to be around people. Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him. Jesus didn't even want to be around the disciples. To go to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountain by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone. May I just suggest to us that many of us do not know how to be with a person who has experienced a loss. Because we cannot handle the crying, we cannot handle the passionate cries. What we do is try to shut down the other person because we are not accustomed, Dr. Margaret, of sitting in sadness. We want to rush past the grief. Today we are fasting from the idea of speeding past sorrow. Because it will come back. And I was in a conversation with somebody this week to say that, there should be a time when you should get over it. Well, let me tell you, I don't care if it's 50 years. There can be a sight, a sound, a smell that will trigger the loss or the remembrance of, or trigger the grief, and you have to start all over at one. Can I tell you that there is not a linear way of grieving? That grieving is up and down and all the way around. You cannot stop at and say that I'm going to do step one, denial. I'm going to do step two. You may stay in step one for years. Go to step three, but have to go back. It is not a linear movement. It is an up and down and all the way around. So it's not something that you can put in a little bowl. So Jesus says, let us go to the other side. I need to sit with this. I need to process this. Can I tell us that many people may be experiencing grief and they don't want to put a name on it, and so they try to rush past it. They try not to deal with it. And then we hear words like, you have the victory. You should be over this. You are in Christ. No, no, no. Jesus, if we are Jesus followers and we say that we follow in the ways of Jesus and Jesus felt he was human and divine, well, can I show you where Jesus' humanity comes out? He sets an example for us to sit with our sorrows. Yes, Pastor Moss, that is the problem. We are afraid of grief. So what it is we are really afraid of the emotion. We are afraid of the pain. Now let me just say something. I always acknowledge when I am talking about grief. Although I teach it, although I preach it, at this stage in my life, other than divorce, I have not had a loss of a parent or a sibling. And I don't know how I'm going to react. I don't know how I'm going to react. Because right now I have theory. And my theory, I think, or the information and my knowledge tells me, my head knowledge tells me one thing. I don't know how it's going to hit my heart. But I pray that I have someone who will allow me to sit with it as long as I need to. I pray that I have someone that will allow me to sit with it and not, but also know when I am getting into what we call perpetual grief. Perpetual grief is the long period after that we sit in it and it does not get better for us. Grief does not necessarily go away, but there are ebbs and flows. Anticipatory grief is anticipating the death of someone. Let me tell you an example of anticipatory grief. Anticipatory grief is when you get a diagnosis, or a family member. Good morning, Pastor Chris. When there is a diagnosis of stage 4, right? And you begin, even before the person has physically died, you begin to grieve what's going to come. A person with Alzheimer's, although they are present physically, the person you once knew is no longer. You are grieving the loss of the person that was, even though they are physically present. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Anticipatory grief. And then on the other end is perpetual grief. And then we have losses on top of losses. I have heard people to say that they have experienced the death of several family members right after, just one after another, after another, after another. And what happens is the losses stack up. And we never dealt with loss 1. So by the time there is a second and a third loss, we are totally out of it. We are just numb. We are walking dead ourselves if we have not dealt with it. And I have to say that the church, particularly the black church, has not done a good job at walking with people after we have eaten the fried chicken and the macaroni cheese and the Walmart pound cake and the Kool-Aid, and we send them home with their cards and their flowers. We are through. We expect for them to be back in church the next day because they have the victory and because they shouted during the homegoing service. Let me tell you, let me just say this. And this is my area. This is my lane. So I kind of get beside myself. But let me just tell you, there are times when jubilant, vibrant, homegoing celebrations do not serve the family well. I'm gonna finish this eyelash real quick while y'all sit with that. There are times when homegoing services do not serve the family well. Well, share what you talk about. Happy are those who die in the Lord. And I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. Because what that says is after we've shouted, After we've sung the victory, what happens is we say, oh, they strong. They sat there. They didn't cry. They know that they're in a better place. And so what happens is after the shouts, after the praise breaks, the family goes home and sits in silence. Nobody comes. Nobody calls. Nobody comes and nobody calls. And so they sit there wondering, am I really saved? Shouldn't I be over this? Remember, even John asked Jesus after the big, talking about I must decrease while you increase. Even John asked the question, are you the one or should I look for another? Because what's happening to me right now don't look like you coming through. Are you the one? Or is there another? So today, honor the losses in your life. Sit with it and remember them. Instead of speeding past the sorrow. Slow down and be present with your emotions. And you may say, well, Chaplain Sherry, I haven't had a loss. If you've had a divorce, you've had a loss. In fact, I remember when a relationship that I was in, it ended. And there was great anticipation. I had an engagement ring and all. And when that relationship ended, I went into a tailspin. I could not get, because in my mind, I was trying to figure out, how has this happened? We were just planning A, B, and C. We were just doing A, B. And I got to therapy. And I'm trying to help somebody. And the therapist says, Sherry, you have experienced death. What do you mean? You have experienced the loss of hopes, dreams, anticipation, life as you had planned it to be. It's a loss. Once I got that, I was able to deal with, because I went through the denial, the bargaining. I went through, this is not really happening. I went through all of these things. And today, that was in 2000, I'll just say around 2009-10, somewhere up in there. And today, if a smell, if a sight, there were times I could look out my back window, kitchen window, and I look out and tears began to fall. Why? Because I remember when he was out there on the riding lawnmower cutting the lawn. All I'm trying to tell us this morning is, call a thing a thing. Call a thing a thing and deal with it. Because if you don't deal with it, it'll deal with you. I don't care how saved you are. I don't care how Holy Ghost feel you are with that of the burning fire. Sit in it. Acknowledge it. Go to somebody to help you to walk through it. Deal with it, Dr. Margaret. It doesn't mean that you're less saved. It just means that you're a human who has a loss. Y'all be blessed. And may all be well on this 6th day of Lent as we are fasting from speeding past sorrow. Until